They saw a suspect in a 10-year-old sedan. What they didn't see was the rank that dwarfed their own. This story, a dramatization of events that reflect a documented reality, begins on a quiet Tuesday evening. The sun has set, and in a tranquil residential neighborhood, life is winding down. It's here we meet Deputy Chief Marcus Thorne. 52 years old, a man who has given 28 years to the force, working his way up from a rookie on the beat to one of the highest-ranking officials in the department. He's a cop's cop, respected for his integrity and his unshakable sense of justice. He's also a black man, a fact that has shaped his journey in ways some colleagues could never understand. On this evening, he isn't Deputy Chief Thorne. He's just Marcus. He's driving his personal car, an unassuming sedan, on his way home from his daughter's piano recital. He's in a polo shirt and jeans. No badge is visible, no uniform, no sign of his authority. He is, for all intents and purposes, an ordinary citizen. Miles away, another story is unfolding. Patrol Car 7, Adam, 12 is on the move. Behind the wheel is Officer David Miller, a 15-year veteran. Miller is cynical. He sees the city as a battlefield of us versus them. In the passenger seat is Officer Chris Garcia, a rookie, 6 months out of the academy, impressionable and eager to prove himself to the veteran. The police radio crackles. All units, be on the lookout for a dark-colored sedan, possible home invasion. Suspect is a black male, medium build. The description is vague, dangerously so. But for Officer Miller, it's all the confirmation he needs. His eyes narrow. He grips the steering wheel. That's just a few blocks from here, he says to Garcia, an edge to his voice. They turn onto a quiet street, their headlights cutting through the twilight. And that's when they see it. A dark-colored sedan. At the wheel, a black man in a dark shirt. It's Marcus Thorne, waiting for a pedestrian to cross. For Miller, the vague details become a certainty. It's him. He doesn't see a father. He doesn't see a respected commander. He sees a suspect. There he is, Miller says, his voice low and tight. He flips on the patrol car's lights. The sudden flash of red and blue shatters the evening's peace. Thorne sees the lights in his rearview mirror. He feels a familiar, weary sigh. He knows the drill. Stay calm. Be polite. Comply. He pulls his car to the curb and waits. He has no idea this stop will be different. He has no idea the two officers approaching are not looking for a citizen to assist, but a suspect to subdue. The glare of headlights floods Thorne's sedan. He squints, seeing the silhouettes of two officers approaching. One on the driver's side, one on the passenger's. A high-risk traffic stop formation. Standard procedure. But the intensity feels off. Let me see your hands. Now. Miller's voice is not a request, it is a bark, designed to intimidate. Thorne, trained to de-escalate, slowly places both hands on the steering wheel, palms open. Good evening, officer, he says, his voice calm and even. Is there a problem? You tell me, Miller retorts, shining a flashlight directly into Thorne's eyes. License and registration. Of course, Thorne says. My wallet is in my back right pocket, and the registration is in the glove compartment. May I have your permission to retrieve them? It's textbook procedure. Announce your intentions, ask for permission. It's a speech Thorne himself has given countless times. But Miller isn't interested in procedure. He's interested in control. Just keep your hands where I can see them, he snarls. Officer, Thorne says again, his voice still level, but with a new firmness. You've asked for my identification, but you're telling me not to move. How would you like me to proceed? The logical question seems to enrage Miller. To him, it's a challenge. Are you getting smart with me? We have a report of a home invasion. A vehicle matching yours. A suspect matching your description. Thorne thinks about the description. Dark sedan. Black male. The sheer, insulting vagueness of it. Officer, with all due respect, that description probably fits 1,000 men in this city tonight. I've heard that one before, Miller mocks. Let's see some ID. Get it. Slowly. Thorne moves with deliberate slowness, retrieving his wallet. Miller snatches it. He pulls out the driver's license. Marcus Thorne. Then, his flashlight catches another piece of plastic. It's Thorne's police identification card. It clearly identifies him, Deputy Chief Marcus Thorne. His picture, in full uniform, stares up at Miller. Garcia, seeing the card from his side of the car, feels a lurch in his stomach. A deputy chief. This changes everything. But Miller doesn't see it that way. In his world, a black man is a suspect first. Any evidence to the contrary must be fake. It's a tragic hurdle many black officers face, their own colleagues refusing to believe they are who they say they are. You think carrying a fake ID is going to get you out of this? Miller says with a laugh. That's a felony, pal. Impersonating a police officer. The accusation hangs in the air. Thorne feels a cold anger begin to bubble beneath his calm exterior. Officer, he says, his voice dropping, gaining a core of steel. That is my official department identification. My badge number is 0-2-1-5. I am the Deputy Chief of Operations. Now I suggest you run my name and choose your next words very, very carefully. The authoritative tone only fuels Miller's rage. You're in no position to suggest anything, he spits. Step out of the car. Now. For what cause? Thorne demands. You have my identification. You can verify it in 30 seconds. The cause is you match the description of a violent felon. Get out of the car. Thorne knows Thorne knows he is legally within his rights to remain seated. But he also knows the reality. A black man arguing with an angry cop on a dark street is a recipe for disaster. He makes a split-second calculation. He will comply. He opens the door and slowly gets to his feet, hands in the air. Turn around. Put your hands on the car. Miller commands. Thorne complies, turning to face his own vehicle. You are making a significant mistake, Officer Miller, Thorne says, his voice muffled. He'd read Miller's name tag the moment he approached. A habit. The use of his name seems to be the final trigger. You don't get to say my name, Miller seethes, shoving Thorne hard against the car. I am not resisting, Thorne states clearly. He's not resisting, Dave, Garcia says, his voice a whisper. He sees this is wrong, but he's frozen. Miller ignores him. Stop resisting, he shouts, a classic, cynical ploy. Then, he draws his collapsible baton. Thorne hears the metallic shink as it expands. He braces himself. Don't do it, officer, Thorne warns. But Miller is beyond reason. He brings the baton down hard, a swift, brutal strike against Thorne's side. The impact is a sickening thud. Thorne cries out, his legs buckling as he slumps against the car. Before he can process it, Miller shoves him the rest of the way to the ground. Garcia, jolted into action, moves in with his handcuffs. Stop resisting. Miller screams again, his boot pressing on Thorne's back. Lying on the asphalt, with the taste of blood in his mouth, Marcus Thorne looks up. And it is from this position, humiliated and injured, that he delivers the words that will bring their world crashing down. You just assaulted a deputy chief of this department. The words, though strained, cut through the night. Miller freezes, his boot still on Thorne's back. Garcia stops cold, a handcuff dangling from his hand. The silence that follows is profound, filled only by the hum of the sedan's engine and the frantic pounding in the chests of two officers. Miller's first reaction is denial. "Shut up," he mutters, but the words have no force. He looks down at the man on the ground, really looks at him for the first time. It is at this moment that a supervisor's car pulls up. Sergeant Frank Costello steps out. 20-year veteran, seasoned, no nonsense. He takes in the scene with a practiced glance, a civilian on the ground, 2 officers on top of him, a baton in Miller's hand. Messy, but not unfamiliar. "Miller, Garcia, what's going on here?" Costello calls out. Miller doesn't answer. His mouth is dry. Garcia, pale and wide-eyed, stammers, "Sarge." Costello's pace quickens. He senses something is wrong. He gets closer, and his flashlight beam falls on the face of the man on the ground. And then, he stops. Sergeant Costello's entire body goes rigid. His face pales. He recognizes the man. He's seen him 100 times in meetings, in seminars, in the hallways of the precinct. "Oh my God," Costello breathes. The name, spoken with shock by their sergeant, is the final nail in the coffin. The confirmation. Miller stumbles back, the baton slipping from his nerveless fingers and clattering onto the pavement. The tough, cynical street cop is gone. In his place is a terrified man who can see his entire life, his career, his pension, all circling the drain. Garcia lets go of the handcuff as if it's red hot and takes 2 steps back, shaking his head. "No, no, no. Get off of him," Costello commands, his voice a low, dangerous hiss. He rushes to kneel beside Thorne. "Chief." "Sir, are you okay?" Thorne pushes himself into a sitting position, wincing. His gaze drifts to Miller and Garcia. He sees the fear in their eyes, the dawning comprehension of the abyss they've just thrown themselves into. "Sergeant Costello," Thorne says, his voice raspy but clear. "Secure Officer Miller's weapon. And Officer Garcia's. Place them in the back of your vehicle. Do it now. It's an order." Even from the ground, his authority is absolute. Costello doesn't hesitate. "Miller. Garcia. You heard the chief. Face my vehicle. Now." Still in shock, the 2 officers turn numbly and walk toward the supervisor's car. 1 minute, they were the law. The next, they were disgraced subordinates who had committed the ultimate sin, they had brutalized one of their own. In the moments that follow, Sergeant Costello efficiently disarms Miller and Garcia. The 2 officers offer no resistance, heads bowed, stripped of the symbols of authority they so catastrophically abused. Costello helps Chief Thorne to his feet. The rage Thorne felt has been replaced by a cold, surgical anger. "Sarge, I want you to call the captain of the Internal Affairs Division," Thorne says, his voice regaining its command presence. "Tell him I said to meet me at the central precinct." "Yes, sir," Costello replies. "And get a paramedic unit out here," Thorne adds, hand to his side. "I want everything documented. Every bruise, every scrape." Thorne then turns to the 2 disgraced officers. He walks slowly until he is standing directly behind them. "Officer Miller," he says, his voice dangerously quiet. "Look at me." Miller turns his head, his face ashen. "Chief, I am so sorry. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know it was you." Thorne cuts him off. "That's the problem, isn't it, Miller? You didn't know it was me. Which means if I had been some random black man driving home, this would have been just another Tuesday for you. You would have written your report, full of lies about how I resisted. And I would have been in a jail cell, because you saw my skin color before you saw a citizen. Every word is a hammer blow." Miller has no answer. Thorne then looks at Garcia. The rookie is trembling. "And you, Garcia," Thorne says, his voice softening just a fraction. "You knew it was wrong. I saw it in your eyes. But you didn't stop him. You stood by and let it happen. You failed your first real test as a police officer. "I'm sorry, sir," Garcia chokes out. "Sorry isn't enough," Thorne says, his voice hardening again. "It won't be enough for the internal affairs investigation. It won't be enough for the criminal charges you're both about to face." Paramedics arrive, followed by internal affairs. The quiet street is now a crime scene where the roles are inverted. The paramedics find and meticulously photograph a large contusion on Thorne's side, and abrasions on his face and hands. Every injury is a piece of evidence. Miller and Garcia are formally separated and read their rights. They are driven to the central precinct to be processed, just as they have processed countless others. The resolution is swift. The internal affairs investigation is immediate. Bodycam footage, which Miller and Garcia may have hoped would help, does the opposite. It shows Thorne's calm compliance and Miller's escalating aggression. It captures Thorne identifying himself and Miller's dismissive, prejudiced response. Within a week, both officers are suspended without pay. The district attorney's office, presented with an ironclad case, moves forward with criminal charges. Miller is charged with felony assault and filing a false police report. Garcia is charged as an accomplice. Chief Thorne holds a press conference. He details the incident without emotion, but he doesn't just talk about himself. He uses his platform to talk about the larger issue of racial profiling. "This incident was not just about me," he states. "I was lucky. I had a badge and a rank that ultimately saved me. But we must ask ourselves, what happens when the victim doesn't have a title?" He speaks of the documented reality for men like David Connors, a black corrections officer racially profiled in a Walmart, and Derek House, detained at gunpoint by officers who admitted their error. He speaks of the systemic changes needed, the accountability that must be enforced. The careers of Miller and Garcia are over. They plead guilty to lesser charges to avoid prison time but are fired and their law enforcement certifications are permanently revoked. They will never wear a badge again. The incident leaves a deep psychological wound on Marcus Thorne. It reinforces a painful truth, that to some, his uniform is the only thing that separates him from being seen as a threat. But it also strengthens his resolve. He doubles down on his efforts to reform the department, pushing for better training and stronger accountability. This specific narrative is a dramatization, but it is assembled from the painful truths of real-life events. The experience of being profiled by your own colleagues is a reality for many black officers, like LAPD officer Bernard Robbins, who was handcuffed by fellow officers despite identifying himself, or Texas Constable Herschel Smith, held at gunpoint by deputies from a neighboring precinct. For the real victims of wrongful arrests, justice is often far more elusive. What happened on that dark street was not just an assault on a man, it was a stress test of the entire system. And while it revealed a deep-seated sickness in two of its officers, it also, through the integrity of Chief Thorne, showed a path toward a cure, absolute, unflinching accountability for all, regardless of the color of their skin, or the badge on their chest.